Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Acharya Ashtotar to the Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Acharya Ashtotar to the Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Prabhu, can you get that for me? Goodness. Okay, check your checklist. Make sure everything's ready for the class. No? I guess there's no garland today. Okay. They gave it away. I forgot. I don't get a garland on Monday, which is okay. It's fine. I don't mind. They give it away on Sunday night. They give away the garland on Sunday night? That's why there's no garland. Narayanam namaskritya Narang chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayamudire. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta prayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktim bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil. And loving devotion to the Supreme Lord is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Before we begin, I was wondering about which verse it was, because there's no verse on the board, and then I made a mark in the previous purport, and I need your advice. This is editorial advice. Let's take a poll. near the end of the purport, the last sentence of the purport begins, the Krishna conscious movement is based on this principle, and we are opening centers all over the world. What do you think? Should we fix it? Do you notice the mistake? The Krishna conscious movement? What do you think? Should it be Krishna consciousness? Yeah. I guess you don't read with that kind of... nobody reads. I can't read the books. You caught it? Okay, Krishna consciousness. So seeing that mark, I said, okay, this must be the verse text 70. 70 it is. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On the 6th day of July 2020 in SanDiego, we're reading from srimadbhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order. Chapter 24, Chanting the Song sung by Lord Shiva. Text number 70. So everyone have a device or you can look at one thing? Okay. Tamevatmanam atmastam sarvabhuteshvavastitam Pujayadvanganantascha Dhyayantaschasakridharim Tamevatmanam atmastam Sarvabhuteshvavastitam Pujayadvanganantascha Dhyayantaschasakridharim Tamevatmanam atmastam Sarvabhuteshvavastitam Pujayadvanganantascha Dhyayantaschasakridharim. 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 How did that happen? Anyway. It must have been back there. Okay, tam, unto him, eva, certainly, atmanam, the supreme soul, atmastam, within your hearts, sarva, all, bhuteshu, in every living being, avastitam, situated, pujayadvam, just worship him, granantaha cha, let's try that again, granantak cha, always chanting, dhyayantaha cha, always meditating upon, asakrit, continuously, harim, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Shiva said, therefore, O sons of the King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is situated in everyone's heart. He is also within your hearts. Therefore, chant the glories of the Lord and always meditate upon him continuously. Purport. The word asakrit is significant, for it means not just for a few minutes, but continuously. That is the instruction given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshashtaka 3. Kirtaniya Sadahari. The holy, quote, the holy name of the Lord should be chanted 24 hours daily, close quote. Therefore, in this Krishna consciousness movement, we request the devotees to chant at least 16 rounds on their beads daily. Actually, one has to chant 24 hours daily, just like Thakur Haridas, who was chanting the Hare Krishna mantra 300,000 times daily. Indeed, he had no other business. Some of the Goswamis, like Raghunath Das Goswami, were also chanting very rigidly and also offering obeisances very rigidly. As stated in Srinivasacharya's prayer to the 6 Goswamis, Shad Goswamashtaka, Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Natibi Kalabhasani Krito. The word Sankhya Purvaka means maintaining a numerical strength. Not only was Raghunath Das Goswami chanting the holy name of the Lord, but he was also offering obeisances in the same prolific numbers. Because the princes were ready to enter into some severe austerity in order to worship the Lord, Lord Shiva advised them to constantly chant of and meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is significant that Lord Shiva personally offered his prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as he was taught by his father, Lord Brahma. Similarly, he was also preaching to the princes according to the Parampara system. One not only should practice the instructions received from the spiritual master, but should also distribute this knowledge to one's disciples. The words Atmanam Atmastam Sarvabhuteshvavastitam are also significant. The personality of Godhead is the origin of all living entities. Because the living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord, he is the father of all of them. One can search out the Supreme Lord very easily within one's heart, for he is situated in every living entity's heart. In this verse, the process of worshipping the Lord is considered to be very easy and complete, for anyone can sit down anywhere and in any condition of life, and simply chant the holy names of the Lord. By chanting and hearing, one automatically engages in meditation. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, Lord Shiva is winding up his instructions to the Prachetas, the exalted sons of King Prachanabarhi. And he's advising that the Lord is very near to all of us, as near as could possibly be, being in our very hearts. And therefore, when we chant, this is explained right at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter, 1st canto, that Shinvatam Sakata Krishna Punyashavana Kirtana Guridyandaksto Yabadani Vidanoti Suritsatam. That when Krishna, who's the best friend, the well-wisher of especially of his devotees, he's the well-wisher of everyone, but the devotees can appreciate. When he understands, because he's in the heart, that we're hearing his glories very attentively, with devotion, concentrating. Those glories which bring piety just by being chanted and heard. Then from within the heart, he cleanses away what is called the abhadras, which are, I haven't been able to figure out a difference between an abhadra and an anartha. I think they're pretty much similar. Abhadra is kind of emphasizes the idea that it's inauspicious. That it's inauspicious to have all of these anarthas in the heart. So the anarthas we've accumulated over countless births. Tendencies toward surrendering to lust, anger, greed, illusion, all of these different things. We have those tendencies, we're in the modes of nature, and we're really controlled by them. You're controlled by those lower modes of nature. Prabhupada would always quote this, Prakati kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimurhata kartamiti manyate. That things are going on by nature, but we're thinking, when we're bewildered by false ego, which is works with the modes of nature to produce all of these coverings that we have, then we're convinced we're the doers. We're independent doers. And therefore we're responsible for all of the things that we do, and we dig ourselves deeper into illusion. So he's within our hearts, and therefore he's advised to always chant the glories of the Lord and always meditate upon him continuously. So this chanting, hearing, remembering, the smaranam is a meditation, is fixing the mind. The whole issue is the mind. This mind is what binds us to this world, and this mind can liberate us from the world, depending on what we fill the mind with. And as Krishna says, uplift yourself by the mind, don't degrade yourself. The mind can be the best enemy, or the greatest enemy of the living entity, or the best friend. So that mind, which is fixed on Krishna, is your best friend. And the more that we can habituate ourselves to chanting and hearing and serving and using our intelligence of serving Krishna and keeping the mind on Krishna, the more we'll stay on the transcendental platform. And the more we'll feel the awakening of our actual relationship with Krishna. Because it's there. It's already there. The problem is it's been covered so long that we've completely forgotten. We've forgotten Krishna, we've forgotten who we are, and we're misidentifying with this external body. And the subtle body also. And the whole world, everyone else is an illusion. You know? Prabhupada would love to quote this verse from Prahlad Maharaj. You know this one, Vijay. Nate vidu svartikatim hi vishnum dadashaya ye baharata maninas andaya tandaya rupaniya manas tepi shatantram nodamni buddha. There he's describing why the mass of people don't take up Krishna consciousness. The previous verse is important because this verse begins with they, not te. So they refers back to the previous verse. And he's preaching to his father. The scene is so dramatic. You know, here's this fragile little, delicate 5-year-old, 6-year-old boy. His father's this huge, humongous demon who's so powerful, not just physically powerful, but he's got mystic powers from all of his austerities, that all the demigods surrendered unto him, except for Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Narada Muni is even explaining that, yes, I was also bowing down to Hiranyakashipu. You know? And here's Prahlad fearlessly saying, don't worry, Father, you'll never become Krishna conscious. He wants to know, where did you get all your power? So, if one's senses are out of control and he's taken a firm vow, determined to try to enjoy in materialistic family life, then you can't place your mind on Krishna. Matir na Krishna. It's almost English. Matir na Krishna. Whether you meet with others or on your own, you try to do it, you know, because they're diametrically opposed. These two tendencies to try to enjoy separately, and the senses, and that means the senses are out of control. Then the mind goes with the senses. The mind and the senses work together. Sometimes the mind is said to be the sixth sense. So this verse. Matyu na Krishna Bharadaks mito abhipadyate griha vatanam vishatam tamisvam. You enter more and more into darkness. Krishna consciousness means, taking the scales off our eyes and opening to the light, enlightenment. Knowledge is light. So it's just the opposite. Tamisvam, and then this immortal phrase, punak punas charvita charvananam. This is one of those phrases that even if you don't memorize the verse, you should know. Again and again, chewing the chewed. Very dramatic. In other words, all of the different varieties of sense gratification that we can enjoy in all the different species is really the same thing with a slight variation. And the variations are what keep us going after again and again. Well, I used to enjoy that, but now I can't enjoy that person, that relationship, that thing, whatever again. But that really looks interesting over there. And mind just goes there, and you endeavor for it, and all that. And you go life after life, you're looking. So again and again, chewing the chewed. And such persons have no idea that the goal of their life is Vishnu, is Krishna. This word svarta is so important. Artha means something valuable. And in the context of the 4 Vedic goals of life, let's recite them together. Vijay? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So human life, civilization is organized around these. but it's basically material, even moksha. But the dharma, in this context, means that which regulates one's life and gives one an opportunity to develop one's artha, economic development, for karma, so for enjoying sense gratification. Now, if it's within the Vedic paradigm, because this is called karma kanda dharma, then at least you avoid gross sins, and if you perform the sacrifices right, you can even go to heaven. But it's still within the realm of artha and kama, sense enjoyment. Now, if there's very little dharma, or then it's just artha kama, that's what we have out in society. It becomes demonic. It's demonic, and a huge amount of suffering takes place. But those who are intelligent after going through this, maybe for many births, they say, well, this is just, I'm not getting anywhere, and I'm suffering birth, old age, disease, and death, the threefold miseries. What's the point? Let me get liberation, moksha. So that's the fourth goal. But that is ultimately also a selfish goal. I want to be liberated from all this, to heck with anyone else, free from birth, old age, disease, and death. And that commonly leads to impersonal liberation. So devotees are not bound by these. We are focusing on the fifth Purushartha, which is prema, pure love for Krishna. And that's the pleasures that comes with actually attaining prema are way beyond anything imagined by someone who's involved in kama and all of this business, So this dharma, is a very important concept. And what does it actually mean for one who's striving for the ultimate goal of life? Well, you have to know what that swa-artha means. Swa-artha is different from just artha in general. It means, what is the goal of the soul? What is our ultimate aspiration? You recall, we just heard about extensively about Sanatana Goswami yesterday, and more than Sanatana Goswami, the whole culture that was surrounded him. So what was his mood? What was it? How did he approach Lord Chaitanya? He's a great model for how the guru should approach the disciple. And in spite of his learning and his aristocratic position and all of this, he presented himself as helpless, as deeply in ignorance. He said, I don't know who I am. If I don't even know who I am, what's the use of all my erudition? You see? And so who am I, ke ami, and why am I suffering in this threefold misery in this world? Please enlighten me. So that's a basic question. Another nice little summary is, what is the real goal of life and how can I achieve it? This is the sadhya and sadhana. You have to know what the goal, you have to know what the goal of life is, you have to know who you really are. So that's the sambandha gyan. Where did this world come from? If you don't come to that point, you're not really a human being, asking these ultimate questions. Why is there anything? How did everything come about? How do I fit into it? Who am I? Why am I going through all these problems constantly in my life? And not only me, but I see people who I love or people who I care for, I know about, they're suffering like anything. Where does it all come from? What's the meaning of this? Is there a way out of the suffering? Those kind of questions have to be asked. Now, even in material sphere, people are trying to solve those problems in the wrong way. It's creating more problems. Duk-aushadam tadapi dukkam. This is also Prahlad Maharaj in his prayers. He's saying that everyone is burning in this fire of lamentation. Do you remember the two reasons why this lamentation takes place? Because I quote this verse all the time. Yasmat priya priya viyoga sayoga janma shoka agdina. Shoka means lamentation. And, lamentation includes, fears and disappointment because you lost something you had. So it's like a fire. So he defines it. Yasmat priya priya viyoga sayoga. One line. The things which are dear to us, which are pleasing to our senses, which are, so dear to our heart, these things are eventually ripped away. You may be a very wealthy person. You've bought all kinds of accoutrements for enjoyment. You have a beautiful house, a beautiful wife, and all these different things. But you yourself, it all depends on your senses being strong, your mind. And then you come down with some disease, you can't enjoy any of it anymore. It's just a big disappointment. So that's priya viyoga. the dear things being taken away. And along with that, you have the things which are abominable to you being forced upon you. Who really welcomed this COVID-19? I read that the ISIS did. You know, those guys in the Middle East. They're saying, oh, these little viruses are little agents. They're little ISIS. You know, because it's causing so much havoc all over them. So the point is, no one asked for these things, but they happen anyway. In our own lives and people we love. I'm fine, but what happened to my child? You know, and you're not fine anymore because you have this bondage. So this is a fire of lamentation, and not only in human life, but all species of life suffering. So it analyzes it. Then in the third line for human beings, dukkha aushadam, we have various counteracting remedies for this dukkha, for this shokagnina, this fire of lamentation. But over time, we see that the very remedies produce more dukkha. Dukkha shadam tadapi dukkam. And then this phrase, atadhyaham, Prabhupada defines it, and it's all rooted in the misconception of who we are, that we think with this body. You see? So the solution to the problem is not material. That just keeps us more and more entangled, like the banyan tree we've been reading about in the evening. You know. So he says, my dear Lord, he's speaking to Nrsingadeva in his prayers, please instruct me in your bhakti yoga. He calls it dasya yoga. It's the same idea. So that idea cannot be enter the mind until we meet somebody who's transcendental. That's why this meeting is so important. Shiva arranged for it that they would meet him. And he would teach him this transcendental song that we've just finished, which is all focused on Krishna Bhakti. So we're, you know, if Prabhupada had come and his program was to have everyone chant this song, it probably wouldn't be an international society of Krishna consciousness. But it's all been made much simpler and easier with the Maha Mantra. The Maha Mantra is our song, you know, that can, you know, it's associating with Krishna in the most accessible form. By his mercy, he's done that. Kali Kali Namarupa Krishna Avatar. In this Kali age, the Krishna has appeared as an avatar, as the holy name. And it's just a question of our taking advantage of that boon that we've been given. The whole thing begins with you know, hearing, seeing, reading a book, Srila Prabhupada's books, meeting a devotee, someone who can give us a whole different perspective of how to view life and view our goals in life. And oftentimes, you know, the seed finds a fertile ground when someone is going through problems. There's some problem in his life, you know, and when there not problems in their life. But that is a time when someone is usually very receptive, you know, to radical solutions that you didn't try already. Anyway, there's also so much from previous life, you know, that one person that has meaning, one is willing to pursue it, come into the association of devotees, and others say, this is the craziest thing I've ever read in my life, you know, goodbye. You know, that you form certain ideas, and you see the world through that formulation, through that lens. You know, this is why again we've been reading in the Gita so much Krishna. The 13th chapter was a lot of that, to attain the vision of eternity or a spiritual vision, jnana chakshus or Shastra chakshus, to see through the eyes of vision. Shastra, just in other words, if one's mind is contemplating all these things, and then you look and you see the world, you see it differently. Oh, this is all Krishna's energy. You see, everything is divine. There's that tree, the poor tree, you know, has been standing there for so long. I take a walk up Everett's. It's a nicer walk than Dawes. Now I've been going up to Everett's, you know. And there's a certain couple of blocks with these really old trees. You don't see that really old trees around here so much. But you can see they're senior trees, you know, old growth. They're gnarled and they going like, you know, it took a long time to grow like that, you know. And you see, oh, this living entity's been in that tree so long. You know, I've taken that, of course, I'm chanting, but I touch them sometimes, you know. Sentimental. But the thing is, this tree is not just, you know, something on the for decoration on the side of the sidewalk. There's a living entity in there, that some sinful activity, grievous sinful activity, is now undergoing as punishment. But this comes up in when I think in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, when Haridas Thakur is talking about chanting. It mentions him here. He chants 100,000 Hare Krishna mantras a day. All right. 300,000. So he would recommend loud chanting. Usually we chant softly to ourselves, japa. He says no, loud, because then everyone can benefit. You can imagine all the living entities benefiting from his pure chanting. But that's a very important part of our sadhana, and that is giving it to others. Prabhupada says, one not only should practice the instructions received from the spiritual master, but should also distribute this knowledge to one's disciples. Distribute this knowledge to whoever will receive it. So that's Lord Chaitanya's movement. It's meant to expand exponentially. This was Prabhupada's great victory, is that after great struggle, he was able to plant that seed in fertile ground, and he empowered his disciples to do it. It's just amazing to read. Somebody would go to whenever Chudhi from Laguna, he likes to tell the story. He didn't go to South Africa alone, but at one point he was left alone in South Africa as a young man, 18-year-old. You can imagine, to preach. There was a center, and the devotee was, leading it. Left. Suddenly he's got a bunch of books, and he's got... But somehow, he prayed like anything to Prabhupada. He was able to make some contacts and, hold that center together and pass it on, improvement. So that empowerment is a great sign of Krishna's blessing. Just to be empowered, to be able to, follow the principles and chant Hare Krishna, to come to the program. What to speak of to inspire others to do it, So, along with the great blessing of Krishna consciousness, we have a great responsibility to carry things forward and give it to others. And anyone who's had the experience of preaching to someone or giving books and seeing a light go on there, and then see the person advance in Krishna consciousness, come to the temple and actually become a devotee, there's nothing like it. You can feel the connection and the blessings of Lord Chaitanya and all the whole parampara, Srila Prabhupada, everybody. Because this is what pleases Krishna most, he says right in the Bhagavad Gita. So we should all have that in this time when interactions are minimized, personal interactions. We should take advantage of the facility, the internet somehow, to contact others in writing, and to keep their, fragile plants alive also, because it's a difficult time. There's kind of a pall over everybody's consciousness. What's going to happen? Every day brings a new disaster, and there's this fear and this confinement. Sometimes you don't know how fortunate we are to have this shelter of Krishna consciousness. All these people who have been thrown out of work, and said stay home. There's a huge increase in abuse, because these families, they're in the modes, and often them the wife works and the man works. Now neither of them working, they're staying home. The kids are out of school. They got the kids around them, and suddenly it's a pressure cooker, and there's a lot of unhappiness, in that regard. But here we get together. I have to say, let's chant Hare Krishna. Let's read books together. We got so much service to do, and we're fortunate to have this. Very fortunate. So, but Prabhupada stresses here that meditation, because that's part of it, right? You should hear and chant this mantra, and therefore always meditate upon him continuously. So our meditation is basically hearing and chanting. There's a section. Prajavali is really a treasure, and it's completely available. It's on the Veda base. I can give it to you, on your device. There's even a book. I can lend you my little copy of Kushakarta's translation. But it's broken up into sections, and one of the sections is meditation. But it's just verses, meditation verses. There's one very beautiful one. I'll share it with you because you could. Sanskrit is nice, but I'll give you the English. I didn't put it in a poem. Angsalam badavama kundalalam mando nada brulatam kinchit kunchit komaladapatam sachi pasarikshanam arolangali pallavaya mudalikam mapuriyantang huda mule kalpatados jibangalalitam jaye jaganmohanam. In this way, I meditate on Krishna, who enchants the whole universe. Jaganmohanam. Jaganmohanam. So what does it describe? It's a careful description of Krishna standing at the root of a desire tree, playing his flute, threefold bending form. So Angsalammadavama Kundalam, he's got these very beautiful earrings hanging down toward his shoulder and reflecting light and shining a very beautiful effulgence on his shoulder. Vamakund Mandol Natam Blulatam, and he's very leisurely and languidly moving his eyebrows, as he glances at the devotees. Brulatam. Kinchit kunchit, his lips are pursed as he's playing the flute. Kinchit kun is soft lip, komaladapatam. Sachi pasarikshanam. Now this is a very nice word. Sachi means that sidelong glance. And prasarikshanam. In other words, prasara is like essence, So prasara is full of love and full of meaning, he's glancing at the devotees. He's not just looking around. He's sending out, his compassion and his blessings through his eyes. And as he does that, his fingers, which are like little creepers or tree twigs, are closing the holes of the flute. Mulodikam apuriyantang muda, filling the holes of the flute with the nectar of his lips. With great joy he's playing. As he stands, murle kalpataros, at the root of the desire tree, with that threefold bending form. It's a complete meditation. You chant it 3 times, morning, noon, and evening, and you're thinking of Krishna. If you're thinking of the name. if you're thinking of the meanings. So the writings of the Goswamis are full of verses like that. Now, the ultimate meditation is the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And as we know, it's beyond the level of the senses, the mind, and intelligence. So it's just meant to be heard, the very sound, and at the same time, understanding this is Krishna in sound form. But our mind is pretty obstinate, and it takes us away from that hearing, and we find our mind wandering here and there. And this is the great value of the other things that we hear in chant. We have Prabhupada's books, we can hear them, discuss them, meditate on them. How does it pertain to me? Kirtaniya Sada Hari, what is that verse? Oh, Shastra. So in this way we can engage our intelligence. And that way when it comes time to chant Hare Krishna, our minds are full of thoughts of Krishna, rather than this and that and so many things. So our days are meant to be filled with Krishna. That's meditation. We're not sitting alone in a forest somewhere, wrestling with the mind, the breathing, and that's not going to work. That doesn't work for us. That's practically impractical, if you will, for 99.99% of the people. So, but the whole idea of Lord Chaitanya's movement, this is practical meditation. We still need to follow Lord Krishna's injunction in the 6th chapter. Therefore, become a yogi. You have to be a yogi. Well, how can we be yogis? We can be real yogis by carefully following the principles of bhakti as enunciated by Rupa Goswami and given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and passed down to us by Srila Prabhupada. And by being determined, we can experience and are already experiencing the benefits of this yoga, this process, and give it to others. Sankhya purvaka namagana natibi, a regulated count, sometimes, you meet people, I chant a lot, I always chant, but they don't count. They're not really, they haven't taken a vow that I'm going to chant so much. Some days I don't get a chance, I have so many things. It doesn't work like that. We're trying to wean our mind away from matter and place it on Krishna. And that mind is very stubborn, obstinate, difficult to control, more difficult to control than the wind. So this chanting of the holy name and other verses, we have the Gita, we should know, it brings it helps us to refine our presentation of Krishna consciousness when we know Bhagavad Gita verses. This is Prabhupada taught us. Then you be confident. Yes, everyone, the soul is transmigrating. We've lived before. Dehinosmin yata dehi. Krishna gives an example. The Jayate Mriyate Vakadash, and Prabhupada quote that verse so much. So, plus all the other, Gita verses, Bhagavatam. So there's also that aspect of, I don't want to say recreation, but just sharing beautiful expressions of poetry. If it may be Sanskrit poetry, or write a little English poetry. I'll help you with it. I have a rhyming dictionary. It really helps, But it all, the sound is what is going to save us, or damn us. There's a verse about that. Yeah, this is one of my favorite verses. Lord Brahma, he's describing the Vaikuntha, and he describes who goes and who doesn't get to go. This is who doesn't get to go. Yanna vajantagabado abido vachananavara chindvandiyenya vishaya kukata matigni yastushita hatabagaya nibadanta saras tang tanchapanta shadaneshu tamaksu hanta. Hanta means alas. He's reserved that for the end of the verse. In other words, alas. This is it. So yanna vajant, those who don't go, vajanti is to go. They don't go. Agabido is Krishna who destroys sin. He's not talking about Agasra here. Rachananuvada, the pastimes, the activities of Krishna. Rachananuvada. Anuvada is words, either spoken or written. Shrinbantiye anyavishaya. They hear other topics besides those words that describe Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes. Anyavishaya, which are known as kukata, spoken right at the beginning of second canto. So many different subject matters for hearing, which degrade the mind, and matigni, literally destroy the intelligence. Yastu shuta, those who hear, hatabagar, their good fortune is destroyed. Atasaras, it completely takes away one's interest in the essence of life. And tang chapanti, again and again, these topics, tang chapanti, throw us down. Ashadaneshu, where there's no shelter, tamaksu, and complete darkness, alas, in the dark realm of ignorance and subhuman life. It all begins and ends with where we're placing our mind, what subject matters, hearing. What you hear and speak and what you read and write, that's really the bottom line. So now we have this beautiful song. I remember I told this story, I don't know if you were here yet when we started this chapter. This is one of the first books I proofread back in 73, 74. And I'm going along proofreading, and then I start reading about the glories of this song of Shiva that's coming up, This is the greatest song, So as soon as it started with the Sanskrit, I started memorizing, even though I was pretty new, but I was already memorizing. They're mostly short verses. And I did about 4 or 5. It got to be a little bit much at my stage then. But that one that comes up, you may remember, is kind of the high point of it for me, where he's praying, Padashadat Padma Palasha Rochisha Nakadudi Nonta Magan Badun Madapa Padashi Yasvi Mapastasadusam Padam Guru Marga Gurustamodisham. I still remember it. So he's saying Padashadat Padma Palasha Rochisha, that your feet defeat the lotus that grows in the Sharat season, and the nails, your beautiful nails on that feet, are emanating this effulgence that's destroying the sins accumulated in the hearts of the devotees. Nakad dubi nontam agang bedun vada. Please show me that form of yours that all the devotees want to see. You are the greatest guru and the leader, something like that. Forget it, something like that. So this is a great gift. Bhagavatam is filled with verses like that. You're reading along and suddenly something just captures your attention. And if you make it your own, it's like picking up valuable jewels and putting them into your kurta pocket, where they're accessible. And then whenever you want. And then they really get sweet when you share them, when you have a chanting partner and you're sharing them. So this is our way of meditation. And by this sharing, we're coming together and glorifying Krishna together. What is that? Parasparano katanam pavanam bhagavad-yasha metodati matastushtir nivita matadatmana. This is in the 9 Yogendras, 11th Canto. Parasparano katanam, exactly, coming together and hearing and chanting about Krishna. What's the result? Pavanam bhagavad-yasha. What do they hear and chant about? The purifying glories of the Lord. Pavanam bhagavan, of the Supreme Personality of God. Pavanam bhagavad-yasha. Mitoratir, they develop friendly spiritual relationships with each other. And mutually they nourish their spiritual satisfaction. Mitotushtir. And simultaneously they nourish their detachment from material things. So this is we draw strength from each other. And that's why we have a society. So, I'll read this translation again. Therefore, O sons of the King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is situated in everyone's heart. He is also within your hearts. Therefore, chant the glories of the Lord and always meditate upon Him continuously. Anything further?
I wanted to see what you thought of. One devotee brought up this point to me some time ago, and I just wanted to see what you thought about it. Something that you said. Something that you said reminded me of it. So I'm just kind of forgetting exactly what you said. Reminded me of it.
Hold the mic up so the people can hear.
So he was saying that when a devotee commits a mistake or commits mistakes or fails or falls from particular standards, it's like, okay, you're kind of making progress, you're making progress, and you kind of revert. Yeah. And what he was saying is that, okay, that's happening, you're making progress and you're reverting, you keep on reverting, but he was saying that you never really fall lower than you were before. Which you could say, so I just want to see what you thought about that, because sometimes, it seems like people fall lower than they were before. But he was making the point that, as far as his conception was, you don't fall lower than before. You're kind of going up, and then you go back a little bit, but you're kind of gradually. Well, anyways, maybe you could comment on that.
I can comment on that, because that's a lived experience for all of us. In terms of, you see things happening, sometimes it may happen to yourself. There's Shastric, support for that, you don't fall lower. There's no loss or diminution. If there's no diminution, that means that you've got your, a certain amount of bhakti credits in the bank there. You're not going to lose it. But your external situation can change radically, and it can be a very painful experience. I've seen devotees who, because it's all personal. Everything is personal. Especially I've seen devotees during Prabhupada's time who became very depressed, that they had offended. They couldn't follow. They had attained the status. Remember that the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, one who's been honored, or the beginning of the second chapter. For one who was honored, dishonor is worse than death. And it can be excruciating, to become a leader in this movement and then to fall away, fall down. There are instances. Madhudvish, was Madhudvish Swami, the king of Kirtan. You may know that, you see the videos, from the early days. It's great. And he was put into a difficult situation. I lived in that 55th Street temple, famous New York temple. We had it only for about 5 years, but a lot happened in those 5 years. And during that time, we had Prabhupada left his body, and that was a very wrenching thing. So it was a pressure cooker kind of. You're in there, and there's all these kirtan, Radha Govinda are there, and you're in New York City, and unless you have a very strong program of kirtan and sadhana, you can easily be overtaken by the modes there. Imagine living in a place where it's never quiet. There's always a hum. You know, I mean, in the middle of Manhattan. I'm talking Manhattan now. The cars are always going. You know, this is something. I mean, to get it quiet, you have to put earplugs, you know, and everything like that. And there's always a bunch of people. And as soon as you walk out the door, the mode of passion, ignorance is so powerful. You know, it's overwhelming. So, you know, some devotees had trouble there. And, you know, where's so-and-so? What happened to him? Oh, you know, he's doing this, doing that. And so it can be devastating. Many of those same devotees, Madhuri specifically, he got Prabhupada's blessing, you know. He was able to visit Prabhupada in 1977 in Vrindavan, you know. And Prabhupada welcomed him, and I think, you know, I think he was on his bed, but he rubbed his head and everything. And it was a huge relief to him that he wasn't rejected. And later he was, you know, did so much wonderful service. I remember being in a kirtan with him in Brisbane, Australia. It was a Rath Yatra, right on the coast there. And he was, you know, we had lined up. It was one of those Rath Yatras where you're part of a bigger festival, you know, so the other floats that went over, and we were near the end. So before we, you know, just before we started on our thing, and all the ladies were painted, you know, they paint, you know, with careful, and everything's dressed up, you know. Huge downpour comes, you know, it's pouring down. And all the other floats, you know, stopped, and you know, who was left in the crowd, whoever could fit under the awnings. There was a downtown area, you know, so there was some businesses. And there were the Hare Krishnas, and there was, you know, Madhuri leading the kirtan. The ladies didn't care, you know, everything became, and it was quite ecstatic, dancing in the rain. It was warm. That was one thing. It wasn't cold rain, you know. So. But he did so much service. He's the one who pushed and founded for that Prabhupada festival. A lot of devotees don't know that. Back in the early 80s. So, you know, he survived because he got Prabhupada's direct blessing there, you know. But you know, purely philosophically, you can't be erased. You have certain credits, even if you do one day of service, or you just chant one mantra, you know. What to speak of, you know, do some serious devotional service for the movement. But it's a razor's edge, you know. The razor's edge idea is that if you're not careful, the really dangerous thing is to offend the devotees, you know, especially leading devotees, the spiritual master. But any devotees, because what happens if you offend the devotees is immediately you lose your taste for associating with the devotees, you know. And Krishna takes that away. And without that, eventually you can't stay amongst, you know. In other words, you leave. And then Maya, you know, the modes of nature take over. So we should be very careful, you know, if you perform your sadhana nicely, and you do the duties, and you're, you know, part of the group, then you can stay amongst the devotees and advance. But we have to be vigilant. It's you know, there's so many do's and don'ts, and that it can be dangerous just to, you know, extemporize. We should be very strict. So that's all I have to say on that. You don't lose it, but you can be separated for some time. Everything can be on hold. You don't want to get into that position. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. Forgot to end on a sweet note. I guess that was sweet enough. Maduram, Maduram. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form. Sweet is still his face so fair. But his honey's scented, gentle smile is sweet beyond compare.